Hey guys, this is Sean here from Crypto XL, a company based in Canary Islands to train investors and traders to become profitable in the crypto market. Today, in this YouTube video, we're going to be talking about the introduction to supply and demand zone. The reason I'm doing this is because I think I sent a poll on our IG story and asking you guys what is the next YouTube video you guys want to watch. I sent a liquidity confirmation and other stuff, and most of them answered supply and demand. So this is why I'm creating this video. It's going to be amazing. Make sure to watch this video until to the end to really understand all of those. The concepts that I'm going to be teaching in this video is amazing. So in this video, we're going to be basically talking about introduction to supply and demand, how to spot the best ones, and how to use them in your advantage. Now let's get started. So first, let's talk about what are supply and demand zones and how are they formed. So let's take a look at this. So let's say a demand zone. Let's talk about demand first of all. So a demand zone is formed when price ranges like this. And then it move all the way towards the downside, grabbing the liquidity from this area. So the banks usually push price all the way towards the downside. Then you have a push up, breaking the structure, and then price will really come down. So now let's take a look. When price push all the way towards the downside, grabbing all of this liquidity right over here, and then push all the way upside, breaking structure. Keep in mind, this is a key concept. It has to break structure. This leaves a demand zone behind. This entire down move right over here, it creates a demand zone. So the expectation is that price will come into its demand zone, give our confirmation before taking price all the way towards the upside. So that is key. Remember that the entire last down move for the up move that breaks structure is your demand zone. I like to think of it as like this: there's the last down move before the up move that breaks structure, and for supply zone is the last up move before the big down move that breaks structure. The simple concept, really simple thing to remember to keep in mind. Now, let's take a look at supply zone. It's the same thing, just inverted. So let's say we have price ranging like this, and then we have a push up in price, grabbing all of this liquidity before having a strong down move towards the strong down move, breaking this structure. And the expectation is that price will come into this area and then continue towards the downside. So it's the same thing when price pushes up, it grabs liquidity from these highs before breaking structure. Also, key point, it has to break structure. If it doesn't break any structure, it is not a valid zone for us. All right. And this entire up move over here, this entire up move becomes a supply zone. So this is how supply zones are formed. Now, I also want to tell you guys this, that let me take this out. Now, a week is also S&D zone. You have to keep that in mind because a week on a lower time frame is a supply zone. So whenever you see a week on like a higher time frame, like the 1 hour time frame, or maybe the 4 hour time frame, it is a supply zone on a lower time frame. So wicks are usually supply and demand zones as well. And also another point that I want to make is that usually when a supply and demand zone is formed, price tends to move all the way towards the 50% of the zone before moving towards the upside. Now, why is that? We get into much detail in this in our smart money course. I don't really explain. This is the thing. Price usually gets all the way towards the 50% because there's still orders to be filled, basically until more than 50% before moving towards the upside. So you can definitely refine if you don't want to move on the lower time frame and really refine your zone all the way towards the downside, you can simply just take your fib tool, put it all the way over here, and then just take the 50% of the zone. You can place an entry at a 50%, stop loss below 50%, take profit all the way towards the upside. Now, keep in mind that I usually don't really take the 50% because I look for confirmation. But yeah, this is for everyone that doesn't want to look for confirmation and stuff. And keep in mind that sometimes price would not reach towards the 50% of the zone. It really depends on price. Obviously, trading is not 100% of the time. We really react to price. If price mitigates over here and gives my confirmation, I am taking the trade. If price comes all the way towards the downside, almost all the way towards 100% mitigation, and then give my confirmation, I will still take the trade. I'm just reacting to price. I'm not trying to sit there and force my bias in something. Now, let's take a look at some examples of supply and demand zones. Okay, let's start here. I've marked this area so there is for reference. So let me just remove all of this first. Okay, now, as you can see right over here, obviously with this season, I don't really like this area because This area, this is a news candle. As you can see, price move all the way towards the upside, move all the way down and close around this area. So this is a news candle. So I usually just avoid this area. Let me take the brush tool, just cancel out this candle. You just don't look at this candle. I need to move this drawing. All right. So now don't look at this candle. Now, what is the next thing that happened? As you can see, ever since this area right over here, this candle, price move all the way towards the upside, breaking this structural high over here. Now, since this structure was broken, it is definitely a valid demand zone right over here. As you can see, this creates a valid demand zone. This candle is your valid demand zone because this was the last down move, but then the next candle is this because this is a news candle, so I don't really look at news candles. So this is definitely a valid demand zone because it broke structure. And as you can see, what happens over here, price actually moved all the way towards the 50% of the zone before moving towards the upside. So in this case, yeah, all you could have done is just see break of structure. It would have been a simple strategy. There's an entry over here, stop loss right over there, aiming for the high, and this is already a 1 to almost, let's say, a 1 to 4.6 risk reward ratio as well. But obviously, I always like to look at lower time frame because on a lower time frame, you can get something like this. Let's say something like this on a lower time frame, which obviously way better is almost a 1 to 10 risk to reward ratio, as you can see, 1 to 8. So it's a higher risk to reward ratio. Now, let's take a look at this. Now, okay, so now ever since this high was created, as you can see right over here, we had this entire, this is actually a structural move, as you can see as well. Industrial. So price did this push. No, God, where was this? Price did this push down, came up here, and moved all the way to the downside again. So this is definitely a valid high to be broken. All right, this is definitely a valid high to be broken. So ever since this break happened over here, this is a valid zone, another valid demand zone, as you can see right over here. So you can see this is definitely a valid zone because this high was broken. It doesn't have to really break the all-time high over here. If it breaks, it's definitely great. It's much more, it's a better confluence as well, but this minor high has been broken. So once this minor high was broken, we can definitely confirm that price wanted to hunt this high. We can definitely take a trade based on this as well. So as you can see right over here, price came down to mitigate, but right over here, it created liquidity right over here. Price hunted the liquidity. Now in this area right over here, without moving on a lower time frame as well, obviously you can say that, okay, let's say I take the 50% of the zone somewhere around here, stop loss right below zero, and then you're aiming for this supply right over here, or even up to this high. Sorry, this supply right over here. This is due to supply. Aiming for this supply. This is still a 1 to 4, but on a lower time frame, as you can see, what I can see from this area is that price made this push down, made this high, made this low, break this high, and a mitigation and a continuation towards the upside. Now, on lower time frame, it's much more clear. Now, if you do this, let's look at the risk to ratio right now. Almost one is a much more better risk to ratio, right? You can see. Now, so this is a valid demand zone as well. I just want to mention that. Now, why did this supply hold? And then price move all the way to the downside. Obviously, it's about reacting to price. Obviously, my assumption was price to hunt this high and this high over here, but it didn't happen. So you shouldn't just sit there and then try to force something, you know. So as you can see right over here, we had this high, which was manipulated. We get into much detail about manipulation, liquidity, and all the smart money costs. So if you guys want to check that out, please check that out. Really improve yourself. You'll get a full on system to implement everything. This is just supply and demand that I'm teaching you guys right now. We get into much detail in supply and demand, liquidity, inducement, imbalance, and how to use all of those confirmation as well. How to use all of those into a rule-based system to catch great trades every single day in the market. We also talk about order flow. We talk about many stuff. Many students that study a lot in the course. It's like it's like a course I created to teach you guys everything. There's nothing missing in that course. Everything that I know about trading is in that course. So make sure to check that out and let me know what you think. So let's say, why did this supply hold? you can see that this low was in control right over here that created that high. As you can see, price was moving up, move up, breaking structure, breaking this entire structure as well, came down, creating this low, and then price broke structure back again. And now with this entire move range over here, we had this last up move, and this entire supply zone actually broke this major low. Label this as BOS. Broke this major low. So this definitely creates a valid supply zone for us to look. And now we had some liquidity right away, liquidity. This is basically weak to strong hand. We have weak hands, then strong hands after clearing all the liquidity, and you have the breakout structure. And just imagine taking a trade from this supply zone. But I don't really wait for that. I'll just look at confirmation, and clearly the confirmation was here. Even if you just, let's say you don't look at confirmation, you just place an entry at the supply zone, stop loss right above the supply zone. And then for take profit, you're aiming at this low, and this low, because keep in mind, once you turn bearish, every single low becomes liquidity. That's something you have to keep in mind. Liquidity right over here, liquidity right over here. Let's say you're aiming for all the way until this liquidity. It's almost a 1 to 12 ratio, as you can see. Now let's take a look at more supply and demand zones right over here. You can see. Let's take a look at some supply zone. As you can see right over here, we have a valid supply zone as well. Broke this structure right over here. You create some, you can see, let me just take the brush tool. Get this structure being broken, some liquidity to clear, mitigation, continuation all the way towards the downside. Beautiful. And let's take a look at these demand zones over here. Now, this was a beautiful demand zone. I would definitely take a trade from this area. Keep in mind, yes, it didn't hold all the way to this high, but if you take on a lower time frame, this is still high because we try to close it around 1.5, 1.6. This is still definitely a great trade right over here. But I won't really take these trades over here. I'll definitely take this zone. You can see price push all the way towards the upside, hunting all of these equal highs over here. So as you can see, why did this demand hold? So this is a beautiful demand zone. First of all, I take this demand zone because it manipulated a lot of liquidity right over here. As you can see, this trend line liquidity, and then it broke structure towards the upside. This leaves a demand zone. You can just place an entry at the 50% of demand zone, stop loss right below, take profit either at these equal highs over here, so 1 to 2.5. But even though if you aim for towards the upside, you can definitely break even once price hits its high, and you'll be stop out at break even. But overall, this is the demand zone, valid demand zone to take a look at. Again, demand zone that broke this high over here. Valid demand zone, price tap, move all the way towards the upside. Even if you take an entry at the 50%, this is definitely a beautiful 1 to 4.25, as you can see. But this is a news candle, but it's still valid. Supply, let's take a look at supply zones. Now, this is something that liquidity comes into place as well, but it's definitely a valid supply zone for all the members knows this as well, because this is liquidity. But let's take a look at this first. As you can see, this supply zone broke structure. It creates a valid supply zone, and there's also some inefficiency as well. Once price broke the structure, there's inefficiency from year and year. Price came, mitigated the supply zone by the pip, and then moved towards the downside as well. Now, we also had this entire push up breaking this high. So many retail traders or even smart money traders will be thinking, okay, we are shifting bullish, Price, people will take a look at this demand zone to buy from, and what happens? You get liquidated. Because this is not really a break of structure. This is actually an inducement. This is liquidity right over here. Because you have to keep in mind, your entire order flow is bearish ever since this low was broken. We had a manipulation, and then this low was broken. We've been bearish ever since that. So for me, this is a valid supply zone. So, and also to keep in mind that this supply zone broke structure as well. So there's definitely a valid supply zone to take all the way towards the downside. And then, as I mentioned previously, right, a wick is still a supply zone. As you can see, this is the wick right over here. But I like taking 2 wicks like this because it's just a better zone. But yeah, you can definitely take this wick. If you guys want to see, this wick is definitely a supply zone. You can let me go to replay tool over here, move to a lower time frame, like a 5 minute. There you go. As you can see, this is a supply zone. The last up move, the down move, the break structure. Take the brush tool. As you can see, the structure was broken. That's inefficiency. Beautiful. Came to mitigate. Move towards the downside. Right over here. And as you can see, high was broken. You can just, let's say you don't want to hold this trade. It's better to hold trade sometimes. Sometimes it's not better to hold trades. It depends on your risk management, your strategy. Even just holding until here is almost a 1 to 4. If you keep holding this all the way to the downside, because keeping in mind if you do a top-down analysis on like the daily time frame, you will know that price will want to hunt this low. So you can definitely hold this trade all the way towards the downside. It's almost a 1 to 55, but I don't really like doing that. Obviously, if you're a swing trader, yes, you can do that. But I like getting in and getting out as soon as possible, But obviously I keep it at a good risk management style with nice RR, not just simply getting out at 1 to 1. That's not how we trade. Now let's take a look at more examples. Let me remove. Take a look at more examples right over here. Again, last down move for the up move that broke structure right over here. Valid demand zone. Price move all the way towards the upside. This is a beautiful restore ratio as well. Last up move. Okay, this is something I want to talk about. This supply zone. Now, this is going to be great information. So make sure you pay attention and watch this video more than once, or watch this part more than once as well. So this is beautiful because keep in mind we were generating a lot of liquidity right over here, as you can see. A lot of liquidity is being generated right over here. Price moved up, manipulated all this liquidity, and then broke structure towards the downside. Now, this entire week, as I mentioned, is supply zone. This entire move broke structure right over here. Price came back to mitigate the supply zone. Now, you can say, why did price come back to test this supply zone? Now, this area, let me just remove all of this first so you guys can see it. Now, this area on a lower time frame is something like this. Or it is pure hindsight, but I know this exactly how it looks. So you have price pushing up this area right over here. You have price pushing up. And ever since here, you had a strong move. Price push down, create some liquidity, as you can see in terms of trendline liquidity. And then price just move all the way towards the downside. Now, price didn't really come and tap into the supply zone right over here. So since this hasn't been tapped and there's liquidity right over here, what price would tend to do is it'll come back all the way towards the upside, tap into the supply zone before moving all the way downside. So this is what happened. As you can see, there's a supply zone. This wick is a supply zone, as I mentioned. Price came back to tap into the supply zone. And that will be your entry. You can place it at 50% as well. Stop loss right above this high, or you can put it above this high, depending on your risk appetite. But I like putting it above this high because it's confirmation as well. And aiming for all the way at this low. And this is already a 1 to 7 restore ratio. And if you keep holding it, went almost 1 to 10, as you can see. So that is it for this video. Make sure to watch it more than once. We also have Smart Money course to check it out. And we also have the Discord community where I send analysis and trade ideas every single day. In the Smart Money course, you'll get a rule-based system to follow every single day to catch great trades. All of our members are catching great trades every single day. It's amazing to see all of that. So make sure you check those out. And make sure to watch this video more than once to really understand this concept. This is all key information. So to keep in mind and really understand all this thing. And I'll see you on the next one. Thank you for watching.